Hey everybody, Dr. Holly here. This is week 4 of cataloging my journey to my newest startup story. So let's jump right in. Last week, I told you a little bit more about what was happening just the month leading up to when I signed my lease, and then today I'm going to talk about a little bit more about how I found my space, what exactly I was looking for, and what I had to do to actually be able to open up within like essentially 3 weeks from the day I signed the lease is when I opened for business. So let's get right into it. Definitely check out those other weeks and give you a lot of details and information about just licensure and naming, coming up with my professional entity, getting mentors through the SBC or SBA, etc. So check those ones out. But if you're following along with the story here, so you know that I reached out to a commercial real estate agent at the end of July. So I had an in-person meeting with her, and went very well. We had a lot of things to chat about because she was from the town that I had just moved from. So we started working together, and she really wanted to know, like, what are you looking for, and what are the values that are going to be highest for you. And so the two things that came to mind for me was professionalism and visibility. So I didn't want to be next to a type of business that just did not feel professional. Okay, I wanted to be in a professional setting. Maybe that means in a medical office park, maybe not. It just depends. And then I wanted to have some visibility as far as traffic, either foot traffic or driving traffic. And a couple other things that come up is like, well, how much space? I know that I have operated out of 2 to 3 treatment rooms and really have been able to have a full-time, full schedule in prior settings to doing that. But I also know that a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have changed with the economy. A lot of things have changed with my lifestyle, et cetera. And I wanted flexibility to not feel like I was biting off way more than I could chew. So I said, I'm shooting for around 1,000, maybe 2,000 square feet. If I was in that 2,000 square feet scenario, it was very clear to me that I was probably going to rent out some of that space. And so, we just sat down and we chatted and we talked about those sorts of things. So she, got online very quickly, got me some listings, sent me some properties. And then we really hit the ground running. And actually at that time, I had been in contact with a property owner that had a highly visible spot that was about 2,000 square feet, but it was in a location that was next to some restaurants and did not really have great parking. And I was pending even going to be able to look at that space. So I was almost kind of really set on that space. I thought the price was right, dollar per square foot was right, and I could make it work. But again, that would be more of it was 2,000 square feet, so I would want to rent some of that out. So it became very apparent, very clear, though, when I went to go see the space, it was going to take a lot of work. I am really not, I really just didn't have the appetite for doing a large build out project, just with all the construction delays, just managing people showing up and just rising costs, et cetera. So it's very clear to me that that space was really not usable for me at this time, because out of the 2,000 square feet, there was really only one place that I would call like a treatment room, like a 10 by 12 treatment room, 2 bathrooms, 2 unfinished room spaces, and then just this giant like studio. Okay. So, just big, wide open space. So could have worked if I already had a clientele, if I already knew, exactly the plan coming into being able to use all that space. But I really just, like I said, did not have the appetite to take on a big build out project. And then the parking was an issue. So it's like, if I'm going to bring in more people, if I'm going to have staff, if I'm going to have patients coming in multiple per hour, there just was not going to be enough room for parking and room for growth there. So passed on that one. We also looked at a couple of unfinished spaces that were like in medical office professional buildings. Again, big, bright, beautiful, would be brand new. I would be able to design it myself, but we're talking, $5,000 to $7,000 rent per month, and upwards of 4,000 square feet, just way more space than I knew I needed right out of the gate. Okay. And also longer timeline, we're talking anywhere from 6 months to a year before I even move in and actually be able to start seeing patients. And then, it was all about like, okay, well, could I get funding for this? How much is the building owner going to put into this build out project? Some would say, they'll offer you this much per square foot. Well, it sounds like a lot. Well, it's like, yeah, but the place doesn't even have HVAC. So, that $100,000 can go right to just your heating and cooling, and you get nothing for flooring, lighting, plumbing, fixtures, walls, all of those things. So there is a lot to think about. one of the biggest also factors in me going into this was the fact that I had spoken to a local lender here that does a lot of SBA loans, and they were sort of under the mindset that SBA was really more leaning towards if I were to buy a property so that they would have an asset as collateral, that they would fund something like that. Okay. But to be able to get approved for that dollar amount, like, yeah, we're going in, we're buying the asset, but I also have to have so many years worth of business experience and proof that I know what I'm doing. And for me, that was going to be offset a little bit because, we had sold a practice in 2018 and I've been practicing part-time since that time. So like the potential proof of, what my business can do was dated back a few years. Okay. So, and plus we had the pandemic during that time, et cetera. So none of the historical documents I could have gotten to them would have really been relevant for them to be able to get that funding. So, it didn't seem to me like it was going to be a very, quote, easy process to get lending for a space that I was leasing, that I was just building out and I was leasing and to start up my business. So decided if I can do this without funding, that's really what I would prefer to do. So let's chat numbers a little bit more next week. We're at 6 minutes. Hope you have a good weekend, and we'll see you later.